online student, because we have tens of thousands of students posting questions every day online, it is infeasible or if impossible for a human to actually look at each of the questions and provide a proper answer. So we quickly introduced AI into a course discussion platform called the Ed. For example, when students ask a question on the discussion forum, we do have a duck that can quickly respond as if a human TF responded to that question by providing a simple answer or advice on student's question. And for this particular question, the student already understand what they are doing. They actually ask for like improvement to their code. And the large language model GPT-4o was able to figure out the nuance in this question and provide a thoughtful answer as well. For example, this student asked, is there a more efficient way to write this code? And the answer was actually focused more on the improvement that was focus more on the improvement to the code rather than actually answer how the student should implement the code. You also notice that we have a disclaimer on the bottom because we have to be aware that not all the AI generated answer is accurate and correct. So it's also students' responsibility to proceed with cautious with all the AI generated response. And you also notice on the top right, we have an endorse button. This means this particular AI generated response is actually reviewed by a human TA or teaching fellow, and the human actually endorse this answer, meaning the student can trust this answer. This is actually one of our human in the loop approach to make sure that the AI generated response is sound, correct? If it is not, we will also have TA provide a human response on the thread as well. Another motivation of using AI in education is to provide students with virtual office hour 24/7. As you can imagine, the large language model can work 24/7. So students, whether they are working, if they're working on their problems at midnight, right? Let's say 2 a.m. If they post a question on the discussion forum, our teaching assistant probably asleep. There's no one gonna help them. But the duck, the CS50 AI duck is always there, be with them, and can answer a question 24/7. So one of the two CS50.ai we built is to facilitate this AI learning experience. If you go to CS50.ai, you can actually, all you need is a GitHub account and you will be able to access the tool we built. It's a tool that looks similar to ChatGPT, but with pedagogical guardrail. If a student have a question with their problem set or the code is not working, they can go consult with the duck, and the duck will be able to provide some guidance on how they should approach to solving their problem, like how they should, what problem with the code is and how they can fix the code without actually telling them what the answer is, of course. And you also notice that we also have some throttling mechanism in place in this CS50.ai app, because we don't want students just keep asking the duck, because imagine in reality, you can't keep asking a human for answer, right? So before asking a question, we encourage the student to think critically before they actually ask the question. So this is kind of like a downward pressure on student. And quickly, I would want to give you like a quick overview on what's happening underneath the hood and how other people can actually build their own AI too. So CS50.ai itself is actually a central, it's like a proxy server that power all the tools I mentioned previously, explaining highlighted code, offer style explanation, and design explanation. We are using Azure OpenAI. The model was actually hosted on Azure OpenAI, and it's GPT-4o power all the AI generated response. We also have a vector DB. You also notice it, and I will explain more in my subsequent slide. So the vector DB is actually power the RAG, the retrieval augmented generation pipeline, which I will also explain because it's a technique that we use to fight hallucination, a common problem with AI generated response. Here are the API. The main API we use underneath the hood is the OpenAI's chat API and the embeddings API. The chat API was the API we used to generate AI response. And the embedding API is the API we use when we do retrieval augmented generation. Now I'm going to dive into the detail of the technical implementation of CS50.ai. Underneath the hood, all this AI model is large language models. And large language model is just a special type of neural network that was able to generate text. And we are focusing on text generation, meaning when you provide some text input, it will generate some text output. And CS50.ai is essentially a chatbot, but a chatbot with context. What I mean is it actually aware what you are asking. For example, it was able to figure out that, oh, this student is actually asking a computer science or CS50 related question. And then the large language model will be able to generate a response that's somehow answers students' question. And typically when you're dealing with large language model or any modern LLM system, you're dealing with 3 roles. What I mean is there's a system role, essentially what we often refer to as a system prompt. It actually provides a general guidance on the LLM to guide the LLM generation. User, us, the student, or anyone that interacting with the AI model, we are the user. We are the one who feed the input to the LLM model. And assistant, often referred to the AI or the large language model, is the one who will generate response back to user. And this chart basically summarizes a typical human AI interaction. Let's quickly take a look at what the system message is for the duck. We literally program this and tell the LLM model, hey, you are a friendly and supportive teaching assistant for CS50. To give it some personality, you're also a rubber duck. But importantly, we don't want the LLM model to just give solutions. So we also have another guideline or rules, if you will, to tell the duck, hey, you only answer students' question related to CS50 or computer science in general. Do not answer questions about unrelated topics. For example, if you ask the duck to make an ice cream, you shouldn't tell the student to make an ice cream because it's not kind of related to computer science. Importantly, we don't want the duck to give answer directly. And we also don't want the duck to violate any academic honesty guideline. And for each interaction, this system prompt is actually always there to guide the LLM generation. And this is basically a chart summarizing a student AI interaction. So student, the user, will just prompt, meaning ask question to the LLM model. And the LLM model, based on this text input, which is a question, and generate some response. There's a problem here though. This all looks amazing, but there's a problem called hallucination. This is a very common problem when you dealing with AI system. Is they tend to have this problem called hallucination. Hallucinations means the AI is actually trying to fabricate some incorrect information as if it is correct. It will generate something that looks seemingly correct, but if you think deeply and then you go fact check it, it actually doesn't make any sense. But this is the problem with the LLM model, with the AI generated response. And in order to tackle this problem, often people come up with another term called grounding, to ground the model with some facts, some factual information. And one of the techniques is called retrieval augmented generation, or in short, RAG. What RAG basically do is, imagine you are taking an exam and you have some cheat sheet. So you are basically using the cheat sheet to generate a response. You are basically hand the AI a cheat sheet to help the AI generate a response. And let me explain what we did exactly with CS50.ai. Imagine a student asks a question, what is Flask? Without RAG, the LLM model will be able to answer this question without any issue because the LLM has some internal knowledge about Flask. Flask is a Python programming framework, but we want the answer to be more aligned to CS50's lecture because in the lecture, David also explained what is Flask. So we want the model to answer as if David is answering the question somehow, sort of. So we use RAG in this process. What's happening is even though student is asked what is Flask, but underneath the hood, we actually hand the LLM model a cheat sheet telling the model what you should read, what you should reference when generating a response. So this is actually the technique we use in CS50.ai. And concretely, when student asks a question, what is Flask? What we did is we quickly create a vector representation of this question by convert this question into some array of float number. This is called embedding. Embedding is just a numeric vectorized representation of the English plain text you just saw. We don't understand what it is, but the model, the machine learning model, will be able to understand what it means. Similarly, we also create embeddings for all the lecture caption. For example, this is the portion when David is actually talk about Flask, and we actually also create a vector representation for this particular caption. We literally just concatenate the caption, we generate an embedding with the same dimension, and then store them in a vector database. So what's happening is when students ask a question, we quickly search through our entire database that consists of David's lecture captions. And then we retrieve the best match caption, which is the caption that David talked about Flask. And we literally just hand this particular caption snippet to the prompt because we update the prompt. You can see that at the top, the first line is the student's original question, and then the bottom is the cheat sheet we are handling. We are handing to the student. The cheat sheet is the information we hand to the LLM model. So the LLM model actually looking at this particular prompt to generate response. So the response is more aligned to the lecture content. So here's the result of 1 year of running CS50.ai, and in particular, these results comes from the fall 2023, the on-campus student. And globally, just a quick recap, globally to today, as of September 12th, we have 179K student or user globally use our tool. We have been processed about 35,000 prompts per day, and we have processed 8 million prompts so far, meaning we have answered 8 million questions so far since the launch of CS50.ai. One student actually commented that they felt like they are having a personal tutor. They love how the AI bots will answer questions without ego and without judgment, and often generate entertaining even the stupidest question without treating them like they are stupid. This is the favorite comment. It has an, as one could expect, inhuman level of patience because the AI language model never gets tired. It will just keep helping you, keep encouraging students to have their learning. Some of the usage frequency, as you can see that most of the students use the AI tool in the fall 2003 semester, and 94% find them helpful. And 96% of the students surveyed, the survey body is about 500 to 600 students, 96% find that they are confident about the AI, the CS50 duck in particular. They also, there's also 95% find the CS50 AI duck effective in helping their learning. And here's some statistical data point. So in fall 2022, when there's no AI, student attended 51% of the available office hour. But since the introduction of the AI, student only attended 30% of the available office hour, meaning most of the questions somehow get answered by the AI. So student actually went to the office hour less often. Just quickly to touch on some future work. So we are still improving our AI. It's not always be perfect. This is an iterative process. In this summer, we've been revamping our CS50.ai tool. We redesigned the entire app. We're also trying to make it more mobile friendly so that students can access the duck on different platforms. But we're also trying to experiment with different ways of interaction rather than just question answering the style. We are thinking about doing some kind of a oral exam style assessment with students, where student can actually code with the duck or answer question interactively. So here are the things we've been experimenting. And if you want to know more about how CS50 AI what's the motivation and how we build CS50 AI, there's a paper we wrote last year. It's called Teaching CS50 with AI that would detail everything I talk about in this talk as well. If you are interested, you can check out this paper. And finally, I want to thank GitHub, Microsoft, and OpenAI for their support in our work. I will also want to thank the summer team. This summer, we have some amazing interns also work on improving the AI doc. They are Ben, Chris, and Juliana, and Yulia as well. They help improve the doc also further. And with that, that's my talk on CS50 AI, and now I'm open to any question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rongxin. Thank you. Okay, guys, if you want to do your questions, just raise your hands if you are comfortable opening your mic. If not, you can send it in the chat as well. But please stick on the topic of the presentation. Let's try to just keep on the topic. Laish?
Yes, thank you. First of all, thank you, Fundação Estudar and Liu for the presentation. It's very incredible and amazing, all the research. I would like to ask about this project, the Duck project. This project, I think, solved a lot of problems that we see in AI now, mainly in the schools, in the education. Looks very scalable. However, I believe this also will solve some problems that we see in AI today inside the companies. So I'd like to know if in the future you guys think to bring this outside, escalate more this kind of project, or you are just seeing now for education?
Can you repeat your last question?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to know if you will in the future bring this outside of education, outside of program questions, bring to another subjects, or also to the companies. Yeah, okay. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. I think the question was, will CS50 in the future, right, rather than focusing on developing AI tool in education or computer science education, will we focus on other domains? So to answer the question first, when we build this CS50 AI, the underlying architecture is actually agnostic to the domain we are tackling. So right now this duck can actually be easily repurposed to other courses. That's just how we designed the tool. Underneath the hood, if you will, we are doing prompt engineering essentially with some RAG. So you can imagine that with some tweak to the system prompt, it could become like a CS50 AI duck, not CS50 AI duck, like a duck for like a psychology course. And then we update the RAG pipeline with the proper domain knowledge. We can actually have the tool, have the duck to assist students with a psychological course problem, right? Or history problem. So that's actually scalable and transferable. So the thing we build are not exclusively for computer science. It is just naturally because we are teaching CS50. So naturally we build a tool that works well with the course. But however, there's some interaction that is more suitable with computer science education. As you can see that the explain highlighted code, that's very unique to like a computer science programming environment. Maybe for other subject, we need to change the interaction a little bit. So maybe we can build a tool similar to that fashion, meaning you can highlight a portion of text and get explanation. Maybe that will also work. So it's definitely transferable. I think our future work will still focus on education though, because we are a research driven lab. So we work in the education sector. So we should focus our energy on education. So that's the direction. Yeah.
Thank you. João Lucas, do you want to open your mic?
Opa, thank you for the lessons, and thank you Fundação Estudar. I have a question. Can I study by my smartphone and apply the knowledge of the lessons?
Like, could him do the lessons on CS50 in his smartphone? I don't think so, but I don't know.
No celular, eu posso estudar e aplicar o bagulho no celular.
Sorry, can you type your question in the chat? I can also answer that. Sorry.
Okay.
It's just because he has his mobile and he wants to like take the lessons and do the exercises.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't have to say, and even a notebook. I have my mobile, my cell phone.
Okay, so if I understand the question correctly, so if you only have a mobile phone, and the question is, can you take the course entirely on the mobile phone?
Yeah.
It is not impossible, but due to the phone screen size, it might be challenging for you to work on some coding problem on our IDE. Although we offer like an online IDE, we do see some people work on CS50 entirely on an iPad. I think the screen size is the main constraint, but the course, we try to make the course as accessible as possible. So you can access all the lecture content through CS50's website. Everything is public, so you can access those without issue. I'm not exactly sure if you can access the IDE through your mobile phone, but some students definitely did that. We saw some students actually took the course entirely through mobile phone. So I think that's possible, but a little bit challenging.
I will try.
Thank you.
Abner, do you want to do your question?
Yes, I would like to do my question. Good night, everyone. Good night, you too. I would like to comment that your presentation was wonderful. Surely you know what you're speaking of. And my question is to the meaning that to have access to the app, the person has to be in a specific university, or any university the person could use the app. And the other question will be, sorry, it's passing noise here. First of all, just respond as a question because I forgot the other one and I will ask later. Okay, cool. Thank you for the question. The question was, can any other student or people from other university use our CS50 AI app? Yes. Again, all we ask is for the person who access our tool have a GitHub account. That's just the way we do user authentication. Beyond that, as long as you have a GitHub account, you can use CS50 AI now. The link is publicly available. Our IDE called CS50.dev is also publicly available. We don't really concern if you are not from our institute. You can also access that for free. That's all thanks to GitHub's support for this initiative. So yeah, you kind of respond my other question that would be if only who is doing computer science could use the app. So I understand that anyone could use it because it's public, right?
Yeah. You don't have to take our course to use our tool. If you are taking other CS related courses, you can also use our tool. Or if you're taking other non-CS related courses and somehow you find the doc helpful, you can also use the doc. We don't really restrict people from using our tool, even though if they're not taking CS courses. So
awesome. Thanks for the help.
Yeah.
Cesar?
No, para ouvir?
Cesar, we cannot hear you.
Maybe you want to speak louder?
Yeah.
Eu gostaria de fazer a pergunta o seguinte, que ultimamente tá dando para ouvir?
Bem baixinho.
Bem baixinho? Tá, deixa eu ver.
Agora tá
aqui.
melhor.
Tá
Agora
melhor, né? Ok, tá bom. Vou fazer em português. Meu inglês ainda é very bad, my English.
No worries.
Ultimamente eu tenho lido muito e acompanhado aí sobre a questão o papel do programador com relação ao futuro da IA, né? Que a IA vai escrever futuramente, ter a possibilidade de escrever os seus próprios códigos e tal. Mas, assim, o papel do programador com o futuro da IA, como é que vai ficar, assim? Qual é o que a gente pode esperar para o futuro se a IA vai fazer a maior parte do trabalho que hoje o programador faz, e se de alguma forma o dev assim, vai ficar um pouco obsoleto?
Tá bom. His question is like the relationship between AI advancing and devs work opportunities. So will AI threaten devs work and offer of?
I see. So the question, would AI took over software developers' job?
Yeah.
It really depends on what views you are taking, what angle you are looking at this problem. My view, not representing anyone's view, my view is, well, we see AI as a tool. It's a tool. If you use the tool well, you actually augment developer. It's not trying to replace anyone or not trying to replace any job. I don't want to go to, extend to that. But I think if you use a tool well, you actually augment your productivity. For example, GitHub has GitHub Copilot. It actually accelerates programmers' productivity by, according to GitHub, 50%. So I think that's a good thing. I think if you're talking about fully autonomous AI replacing developer, I think there's still a long way to go. I'm not sure if it's possible at this point. I don't know the answer, honestly. But at this very point, I believe that if you use AI well as a tool, for example, CS50, right, we think it's augmenting our teaching, not replacing any teaching assistant or teaching fellows. So yeah.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cesar. Thank you, Rongxin. Any questions? Mais perguntas? You don't need to be shy, guys. Não precisam ter vergonha. Se vocês tiverem dúvidas, façam em português, a gente traduz.
Tem uma pergunta aqui. Qual a língua? What language is used to program the artificial intelligence? Qual a linguagem usada para programar IA?
Do you get it? Which language do you use to program the AI?
Oh, okay. So thank you for the question. The question was, what programming language were we use to program the AI? Well, to program the AI, you use English because it's prompt engineering. But if you are asking how we build the entire tool, the tech stack, we use Python as the language. But now we switch to use Node.js as the language when we rewrite the app. So I think that answers your question. If not, let me know in the chat. I can follow up. Actually, let me elaborate on that answer, because nowadays interesting. When you talk about programming the AI, you are literally instructing the AI to do something. So the programming language become English. And if I elaborate further, in the future, you maybe not need to learn any programming language. You can just talk to the AI, let the AI write the code for you. Then the programming language become human language. It could be Portuguese, it could be English, it could be Spanish. That will become the programming language. Because at the end of the day, all this programming language was trying to have the machine understand what the human means. There's some compilation going on to translate human language into machine understandable code. So I think in the future, the programming language could also be human language. So, yeah.
Great, thank you. Laish, do you have another question?
Yes. Nowadays, I'm doing a research about AI access for blind people. And I'd like to know if today a blind person is able to use the duck, and the duck can help them to programming.
So the question, can a blind person use our tool? Assuming the person has some screen reader, our tool should be usable because all they need is a text input. So I believe there gotta be some voice to text or speech to text. It's already solved by OpenAI as well. They have pretty good speech to text model. So once the tool can transcribe their speech into text, and then they can interact with our duck, right? When our duck generated back a response, the screen reader should be able to just read the generated text from our duck and then read back to the person. So should be accessible. And actually the IDE we are using is called VS Code, and we are not the one actually build VS Code, right? Microsoft already taking care of building VS Code and making sure it is also accessible for a blind person. So even on the VS Code side, I believe if it's screen readable, then they can just use our tool because our tool has no different than other VS Code extension anyway. So if it's screen readable, it should be fine. And actually the text to speech part is something we can also add in the future for the duck. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
João Vitor?
Good night, everyone. I would like to ask, are there any future plans for the team responsible for CS50 for greater use of AI by implementing other languages, like maybe the main ones, like Spanish, French, German, or even Portuguese?
You mean would the team has any plan to translate the course into different language?
Yes, exactly. Like translate the course and even maybe to create a easier way to others that doesn't speak English to be able to use the duckboard AI.
Yes, thank you for your question. We actually actively looking into technological solution to this problem, and it's always in our mind to have the course as accessible as possible. We tried Google Translate, I would say almost 10 years ago. Of course, that wasn't great back then, but right now we do see an opportunity to use large language model to help translation, and especially with text to speech, we can also do dubbing in different languages. So that's possible. That's also in our roadmap. We would love to do that once the technology is complete. We even want to do lip sync, like we'll be able to replace David's lip sync into other language so that they can actually speak in other language. So that's something doable with AI.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
We received one in the chat. Are you using big O notation? I know, and I don't know anything about this, okay? So maybe I can be talking, not reading well the question, but are you using big O notation to analyze the time and space complexity of your codes, or are you using other methods?
First of all, the question was, are we using big O notation to analyze the time and complexity of our code? We did not perform that analysis. I believe we read somewhat efficient code, but we do talk about this concept in the course. I think that's all I can answer.
Great. I have one in Portuguese here in the chat. I'm gonna try to translate it. What are the main challenges and ethical considerations in programming robots with artificial intelligence, especially related to security, autonomy, and impact in the labor market?
Cool. It's a very big question. So it's about AI ethics concern. Programming robot, the impact of labor market, I see. I'm sorry, that wasn't my specialty. I don't know about the impact of labor market. I'm pretty sure there's many economists wrote article about it. I think they answer better than me. Anyway, what we were looking at is, again, when we were, well, in my presentation, right, student actually spend less time in the actual office hour. So that's the actual impact. Does that mean we don't need much TA? We don't know. But our goal wasn't trying to reduce the TAs. We actually trying to let the TA have more quality time with the student, because sometimes student can go to the TA and ask, how can I change directory in the terminal? And we believe this is the question that the doc can already help, so that student can actually ask TA a different question, a more challenging question, and have more qualitative time with the TA. So at least from this view, I don't see that much impact on our teaching assistant. I can't speak for the entire society, like what the AI impact on labor market. I'm sorry, that wasn't my expertise.
No, that's fair. Thank you. João, I'm gonna give the space for Mateus because he didn't ask questions yet. So Mateus Coelho.
I have a question. Since you are an AI expert, do you think that in the future it will be possible to AI have the expressiveness of a human, something like that?
Okay, thank you for your question. First of all, I'm not an AI expert. I'm just an AI user. Does AI have the expressiveness of human? I think right now, if you will, ChatGPT somewhat, or GPT-4 or the O1 model that OpenAI just released, somewhat had that expressiveness already, or seemingly to have. Like, if you're asking, does the AI will have conscious? I don't believe that. At the end of the day, it's just pattern generation, because it was trained on some data set, trying to generate some response according to your input. So I don't believe, I don't trust that AI will have consciousness, if that's what you mean. But if you, again, to answer your question, does that seem to have the expressiveness of human? I think so.
I am more concerned about if the AI will be capable of fool a human, or.
Oh yeah. Thank you. So the question is, you're concerned about AI to fool a human. If you read so you can read the GPT-4 system car paper by OpenAI. AI was already able to fool a human during training or during their evaluation. They were able to trick the human evaluator into finish answering a capture, process. Anyway, the AI was able to fool the human. That's already happening.
Do you recommend any book about AI?
Recommend what? Sorry.
Any book.
There's a book called Deep Learning. Pretty good. It's pretty low level, but I think that's a good book.
Can you repeat the name of this book? I'm trying to.
It's called Deep Learning.
It's okay.
Yeah, you can search it and then you can see it.
Thank you.
Bianca, now we are heading to the end of the presentation. We have 8 minutes, and now we have tons of hands up. So let's try to cover. Bianca, go for it.
Oh, good night. Can you hear me clear?
Yeah.
Okay. My question is about AI, more close to security. I've studied one of the courses of Harvard that you guys have available about cybersecurity, and I wanted to ask if in some of the course will be.
A palestra aqui da Inteligência Artificial da Universidade de Stanford.
We have a mic. I have to turn it on.
Eu sei, porque eu tinha me inscrito aí, era de 7 horas. Aí eu tô olhando, se termina, isso vai ficar.
Okay. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Bianca, can you ask your question again? Yeah.
Okay. My question was about if the course will have security related content about ethic ways to use AI?
Okay, thank you for your question. The question was, will we have a course about AI ethics? I don't know yet. I'm not sure. So sorry about that. I don't know the answer.
Oh no, don't worry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jordano lowered his hand. So João Lucas.
Yes.
Yes.
Entendeu? I'm a lawyer.
The matrix.
To programming for documents. The privacy is central in this. In this course, these questions are concerned, and hallucinations is one big problem, or is good for work.
Sorry, can you repeat your question?
Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't get it as well.
I'm a lawyer, and I need analysis of judicial documents. The AI is good for analysis documents, or hallucination is a big problem.
Yeah, the last part I still don't get it. I don't know if you got it, Rongxin.
I hear is hallucination a big problem, but I don't know the previous. What you?
He's a lawyer and he wants
to
into
I see. Yes.
Doc.
Okay. So you're a lawyer and then you are worried. Okay. If I understand the question, I don't want to hallucinate as well. My understanding of your question is, will hallucination be a big problem if we are using this for legal purposes or trying to have a legal to do a paralegal's job, I guess. I don't want to hallucinate, but if I understand correctly, that will be a big problem. Actually, there are already a few cases where a lawyer actually used ChatGPT to generate some, I don't know, legal document, and then they present it to the judge, and then the AI was citing cases was never happened. So it's a big problem. So you should be cautious if you are any legal professional trying to use AI. Although I think AI is good at summarizing documents. So at the end of the day, you should be responsible for the generated result. You should always fact check yourself. But I'm pretty sure there's company right now, like startup, they are doing LLM that's specifically for legal domain. There's a company called Harvey. You can check that out. I don't know how they are doing right now. It's called HARVY, Harvey. So you can check that out. So definitely the AI would be helpful in some domain, some process. But at the end of the day, you should be aware of what you are using, the AI generated response.
Thank you.
Yep.
There, let's go to, guys, we are gonna go for one more question and then we're done. I'm gonna go with the order here. So João Lucas, go for the last one.
Good night. My last question is about the AI. What are the advantages of a user that is using uniquely the CS50 Duck AI to study against other users that are using other AIs like ChatGPT, maybe Google Gemini or Copilot? What are the advantages of only use the CS Duck, or is better to use not only the CS50 but also the others to have a better improvement and better learning?
Okay, the question is, what's the advantage if people purely using CS50 versus people using commercial AI solution like ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Claude, right? So again, the motivation of us building the tool, because our course is introduction to computer science. So we will assume the people who take our course don't have much experience with computer science. So in their early learning stage, we don't want them to rely on, like a tool that will tell them the solution. That doesn't have their learning at all. But we build a tool that can at least help them, right? That can give them some high level guideline on where you should working on, rather than telling them the question. Let the student actually arrive to the solution themselves. So I think that's the advantage of the two. But if you are already an advanced student, you know what you are doing, then you probably don't need the DUG. But of course, sometimes if you don't want the outright solution being presented to you, you can still use a DUG as a way to bounce idea, to get, inspiration. And then you yourself come to the solution, arrive at the solution yourself. But for honestly, right, frankly speaking, in my daily life, right, I probably don't use a DUG because if my job is trying to program, I want to be productive, so I might just go to ChatGPT. So it really depends on which learning stage or what you are doing. As long as you know what you're doing, you're responsible for your own learning, you're being responsible learner, I think that's fine. Either all the two can be advantages. It just depends on your use case. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rongxin. Thank you, everyone, for the questions. I'm just gonna change to Portuguese to thank everyone and I come back to English. Mas, gente, muito obrigada. O CS50, ele existe, então, legendado em português aqui na Fundação Estudar, é o CC50. Para quem não se sente confortável fazendo o conteúdo todo em inglês. A gente acabou de lançar o módulo de IA deles, então, por isso também esse momento aqui hoje. Eles lançaram o módulo de IA no início desse ano e a gente acabou de legendar e botar disponível para todo mundo que está fazendo o CC50. Então, vocês têm lá o módulo de IA que foi desenvolvido. Fiquem à vontade e obrigada por participarem. Thank you very much, guys. Rongxin, especially, of course, for your time, and all the team from the CS50 here. Thank you very much for making this possible for students. I know we learned a lot, so thank you a lot for that.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you, Beatrice, and everyone else for having us. Really enjoyed this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.